for,
This
Thank you.
meeting is being recorded.
this is the February 23rd, 2023 LOCAC meeting. And the meeting has been called to order. And Tom, could you do a roll call for us?
Absolutely. For District 1, Patrick McGibney.
I'm here. Thank you.
Andrea Luker, I believe, is absent. For District 2, Kristen Horowitz.
She's waving here.
All right. Tom Cross, that's me. Hello. I am here. District 3, Larry Bender.
Present.
All right. District 3, Larry Rayo.
Present.
District 4, Deborah Howe.
Present.
John Lind.
I'm here.
And County Supervisor appointees, Jim Stanfill. Trish Bartell.
Present.
All right. That is everyone.
Thank you. Chairperson announcements. I want to just go to the bylaws, policies, and procedures and see if we can get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Seconded. Kristen was the second. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Any opposed? Nope, unanimously approved. Woohoo! Until next month, when there's going to be an addition. Do we have any council member announcements? Nope. Okay. County and local reports, sheriff's report. Sergeant Elliott, are you here tonight? I don't see you. It's a busy night, I'm sure, out there. All right. How about the highway patrol report? Jason Graham, I see you right here. And you're being asked to unmute.
Perfect. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Hi guys, Jason Grimm here. Thanks for having me in with the CHP here in San Luis Obispo. We have just 6 items to report. I'll start off with a DUI arrest we had on the 4th. It was at 4:50 p.m. at 8th Street and South Ocean, and had 5 traffic collisions. The first was on the 4th at 4:09 p.m. It was a solo vehicle versus a deer, including, sorry about that, phone's going off, with a minor injury, thankfully, to the driver. That was at LOVR at Diablo. On the 11th, we had a 2-vehicle minor injury traffic collision. That was at 3:20 p.m. That was at Santa Ynez and 9th Street. On the 20th at 7:24 a.m., we had a hit and run, minor 2-vehicle hit and run, and the suspect was located and cited for that, and that was at LOVR 9th. On the 20th at 4:35 p.m., we had a 2-vehicle non-injury traffic collision, and that was at LOVR at South Bay Boulevard. On the 26th, at an unknown time, we had a hit and run with a vehicle versus a parked vehicle, and that was at 4th Street at Santa Isabel, and no suspect on that one. That was all we had for the month.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the council? Patrick?
Yes, thank you. Could you tell me who you would contact about abandoned vehicles that are on the street?
I believe we can come look at that. What's the address? What do you got? Do you have a license plate or a VIN number?
Well, there's 2 things, and I actually called in about them over probably 2 months ago. You did come by and cite one of them. It's still there. And then the other one moved, but has come back again and has been there now for another 5 days. That has no license plate on the trailer. It's a boat with no license plate, and the boat is registered, I think, in Minnesota.
Wow.
That is on the corner.
Yeah, address out.
Yeah, that's on the corner of 3rd Street and Santa Isabel. And the other one that was cited, or that you tagged, was on 3rd Street, the 1100 block. And it doesn't have an address, obviously. It's not a house. It's just a vehicle that's been there, and now bushes are growing up underneath it.
And you said the third at Santa Isabel, is that a boat, you said?
Yeah, the one on Third and Santa Isabel is a boat on a trailer, no license plate.
And the other one is a vehicle with
Yeah.
vegetation growing underneath it, and that was at
Yeah,
the
and that's
11th block of Third.
1100 block of Third Street, and it's been there over a year and a half.
Okay, we'll swing by and take a look at it. Our protocols, typically we put a tag on it that gives us 72 hours, gives the owner 72 hours to have it moved. If they don't move it, then we have the right to tow it. So hopefully we get back out there and go tow that. If not, sometimes we have issues with the tow companies taking those vehicles. There's no money in that for them. If it's, obviously a vehicle that has no value, then they get called out to take it and they lose money on taking those. But we'll see what we can do. We'll come by and let's look at those, okay? See what we can do to get those out of there.
It could be donated to NPR and they'll come and pick it up.
NPR, okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is there any questions from the community? Use the raise hand. Okay, don't see any. Well, thank you very much, Lieutenant, for your report. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We do not have any county reports tonight. Corey is on the.
Trish, the sheriff has shown up.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
And where is he? Tom, can you find him? Elliot, right?
Yeah, Coys, COYES.
Oh, here.
OSO.
No, that's
There you
slow
are.
cog. That's slow. Oh, no, no, that's you.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, sorry about that. I logged on about 10 minutes ago and it wouldn't, I was just having a glitch, so I had to re-log in, so I apologize. Yeah, so I'm Elliot Coy, Sergeant with SLO SO. For last month in January, looks like we had 68 calls total for Los Osos, which is up from 56 the year prior in January. So a little more, I would guess probably a portion of that is from the severe storm we had. Two of the calls in January were assault or battery calls. We had 43 disturbance calls, 3 burglary calls, 5 thefts, 10 vandalisms, 3 mail thefts, 0 phone scams that were reported with a loss, 18 suspicious circumstances, 88 proactive enforcement stops, and 45 preventative patrol activity, which could be foot patrol, things of that nature. And that's all we have for the stats. Does anybody have any questions specifically for us, for the sheriff's office?
Anyone from the council? No. Anyone from the community? Okay. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Corey Hahn is on vacation and Claire, who will be taking over for him, is not available tonight. So we will not have a county staff report. If you have any questions for me, please go ahead. For them, go ahead and email LOCAC and we can make sure that your questions get answered. Supervisor report. Bruce. Supervisor Gibson, how are you tonight? We are asking you to unmute.
All right, I thank you for the question. I will tell you that I am at the tail end of a fairly mild case of COVID, simply awaiting a negative test so I can go back out and participate in events of the world and break free the isolation of my home office, pleasant as it is. But that being said, we've been engaged over the last, since I've seen you in a variety of things. I was scratching my head about matters that are Los Osos specific, and if Mr. Fixler wants to weigh in at some point to provide me an external memory boost, that would be great. But I don't recall any that are really on the docket for immediate past or the immediate future. We are, maintaining a watchful eye over the weather. We certainly know the devastation of early January, and have been helping people as they've needed it to get connected with the resources they need to recover from the issues that Los Osos experienced. It was extraordinary demonstration of community that helped those folks out. Since then, no extreme weather. We don't expect the same level of extreme weather upcoming, but we're watchful and ready for that. In terms of the overall county effort, we are, ramping up the budget process. We do have a modest deficit now, estimated at about $5 million between what we would expect to be doing next year and the revenues that we estimate we would have to accomplish that. And we're going to have an item to understand a little bit more about how that is going to how that's going to be closed. At the same time, we do know that the board has set out our priorities for the budget year, including homelessness. We have, as I think you know, a regional approach to homelessness that's been approved in a conceptual way, and now we need to make good on bringing investments to that to actually make it, make some progress on that very difficult project. I know that that a lot of our success at the local level is depending on what we're going to be able to accomplish at the state level. And I think you all know that I am, as an officer of our state association of counties, I'm deeply involved in the conversations at the state level. The prime piece of this is to establish a clear sense of roles and responsibilities for the state, the county, the cities, so that everybody knows what they are supposed to be doing, what they're supposed to be funding, and can be held accountable for progress on that. We extended that a couple of weeks ago. I was in Washington, D.C. for 5 days. A lot of our lobbying there was talking to various federal agencies and our legislative delegation about the need to devote a consistent ongoing stream of revenue to get us engaged, to help us support what we need to do on that. So that's the issue there. At our last board meeting, the board did lay out a number of other things in terms of community choice energy and solid waste management with the integrated waste management authority, settling the redistricting lawsuit, campaign finance donation limits, and things like that. Again, happy to speak to any of that as your interest indicates. And so I'm happy to take questions.
Any questions from council?
Bruce, just question on the homeless. It's obvious we have homeless because we don't have enough housing. Is that a part of the issue that is being addressed?
Yeah, absolutely. What we know we need to do to make some progress on homelessness is create housing opportunities in a variety of different ways, from simple shelter to simple encampments that would get somebody who is currently living unsheltered in a tent to a more stable situation, and all the way from there to supportive housing and transitional housing and permanent housing. Connected with that, we need to have services to address whatever the issue is that's at the core of homelessness. A lot of that is behavioral health, whether it's mental health issues or addiction treatment. And so what we're trying to do is make sure we understand exactly who's going to be responsible for creating the necessary facilities and who's going to be responsible for providing the services. On the service side, it is that most likely falls dominantly on the county because we are service providers, and we're going to be moving forward on it. What we really need to do is take this on as a regional effort, and so to me, the key conversations are between the county and our city partners, because that's, we're going to need to address this all over the county, and doing it within the jurisdiction of incorporated cities is going to be important as well.
Thank you.
Talk before we have action.
Well, yeah, it's time for action though, and
Yes.
that's what we're that's what we're aiming for right now.
That's your goal, I know.
Okay, and we've got a question from Kristen.
Yeah, one thing is one feedback. I actually spoke to someone who's involved with the Kansas Avenue project and wanted to remain anonymous in what group they're with. But she told me one of the biggest issues that they're seeing is that there's a lot of people who aren't getting transportation. So they're ending up having really poor behavior there because they can't get to, they can't get their supplies, or they can't get to their medical needs and things like that. So if there's any way that we can weigh in on location and access to like grocery stores and basic medical offices and good transit, I think that would be really important for long-term sustainability. And then the other thing is garbage. It was in the news last week, 97% rate increase, and I know that people want to know.
So Bruce is here, asked to unmute.
Okay, there we go. Somehow that got slipped. So, duly noted as regards Kansas, part of the overall homeless approach is, I think we're already looking toward what comes next after the Kansas Avenue, Oklahoma Avenue. That was a facility put in place to fill a specific need. It has had its success and it has its challenges. And I think in the long term, that is probably not the ongoing issue that not the facility that's going to best take care of the needs of those folks. But we need to figure out the replacement before we decommission Kansas Avenue. So that conversation is all right in the middle of the mix right now. As regards your solid waste rates within Los Osos, so this is an item that will show up, if I remember correctly, on the March 21st Board of Supervisors agenda. It is a Proposition 218 hearing because it is the rates and charges within the service area of the Los Osos Community Services District. Normally, under normal circumstances, the LOCSD would have been handling this whole thing. They now have returned, we have returned franchise authority on solid waste collection to the LOCSD. What happened though was that the analysis of this rate study was started and almost completed just before that transfer back to the LOCSD took place. And so in a discussion with the LOCSD, the county agreed to go ahead and complete this process. But these are rates that are essentially to be imposed, if you will, or to be set by the LOCSD. And we're just doing this as an efficiency in government kind of thing. The rate increase is substantial, absolutely, understood that. It was determined, it was calculated and proposed based on the nature of the franchise agreement as it sits and a particular financial analysis of the cost of providing the service. And so all that went through a very careful look financially. And because the rates hadn't been raised for a while, there ends up to be a substantial rate. It has some component pieces to it, one of which is a temporary rate increase. About 14 or 15% of that rate increase is going to only, if it's approved, is only in place during 2023. And at the end of 23, that temporary rate increase would go away. So rates would actually drop by about 15%. That said, I totally understand that the magnitude is substantial. The process, as I think you've been through in a number of previous instances, is that this rate is proposed and it is subject then to a protest vote. And so if 50% plus one of the ratepayers file formal protest against it, the board can't move forward with it, and then probably the LOCSD would have to pick it up and decide how that's going to work from there. So beyond that, I can tell you, yes, I certainly understand the pain of that big of a rate increase. In the staff report and in the mailings, there's all the analysis that shows how it compares to other communities and so forth and whatnot. I guess all I can tell you is that the amount of the proposal was reviewed by an outside expert and found to be consistent with the agreement that's in place.
Next question is for Deborah.
Yeah, Bruce, without getting too much into the weeds, what is the cause of such a large deficit? Or maybe it's not large, but it seems, $5 million seems like a pretty big stretch. Is it loss of revenue, or is it something to do with the homeless? And I ask this because being involved with transportation, it seems like transportation, road repair, road safety is, often slowed and or we're not able to complete repairs because of the deficit. So can you teach me just a little bit?
Well, so the way we budget is we create what's called a status quo budget. That basically we take what all the county is doing, all the hundreds of programs that we do in our 23 departments. And as we look to the next fiscal year, which is going to start this coming July 1st, we estimate what it's going to cost to provide that same set of services in the next fiscal year that we're providing in the current fiscal year. No additions, no subtractions. We then compare that cost to our estimate of revenues. And that is a wide range, and it's detailed. We can point you to the analysis of that. There's actually in the agenda packet for this coming Tuesday is at least a summary of that. And that's property tax, sales tax, transient occupancy tax, funds that come from the state and federal government to do, the various programs that we do. What happens often, and what's happened this year, is that the cost of providing the status quo services has grown faster than the revenues have grown by the tune of about $5 million. And out of a $750 million budget, plus or minus, that's not a terribly huge number, but any contraction, given the real tightness on the discretionary spending that we have, it turns out to be a big deal. And so we have to, by statute, we have to pass a balanced budget. We've got to decide exactly, what reductions in expense are we going to, because we have limited ability, certainly within the next few months, we have limited ability to raise revenues, short of, tapping some of the reserves that we have created, which is not something we're going to do on an ongoing basis. So we've got to figure out how to bring the revenue side and the expense side into balance. That will require, a variety of moves, incremental at this point. Leaving positions open saves money. There are a number of different things. That's what's under consideration right now by the administrative office as we head to getting a proposed budget, which is going to come out in May.
Thank you.
Patrick McGivney is up.
Thank you. Regarding mission disposal, I have several questions. One, who has the contract with them? Is it the CSD or the county?
It's now the CSD that has the franchise agreement. But when this process of the rate adjustment started, it was actually with the county.
Okay.
It's a transfer.
And so who agreed on all right, and I may be wrong about this, but this is just what my understanding is. What we're trying to do is make up for the lack of finances that they got, and they weren't able to make their, I think it's a 7% guaranteed profit margin.
Yeah, that's I haven't read the franchise agreement recently in detail recently, but yeah, basically the structure of it is they have to document their cost of providing service, and then they are allowed a 7% profit, if you will, return on that investment. And so from time to time, they come forward to analyze their cost of doing business, and they have documented the need to replace equipment and the raise in the wages they pay their drivers and a bunch of other things. And it goes through that calculation, which is what
Okay.
shows up as that proposal.
So their lack of revenue, is that because of fuel prices went up and employee benefits went up or whatever? I mean,
Yeah.
all that stuff went up during the COVID time.
Well, during the last however many years since they did the last rate increase, and that's all detailed in the staff report. We can, if you're interested in particular reference, contact the office and we
And
can.
I have read this, but this is a contract agreement that the county made with Mission Disposal.
I think it was actually first made by the LOCSD, and it got transferred to the county as part of the bankruptcy. And then in recent years, the LOCSD asked to have an arrangement where they could get that franchise back, while at the same time providing county revenue that it is due to make the county whole for the money that the county put in to settle the LOCSD's bankruptcy a few years back.
Well, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other council members? Okay, Lindy, I will ask you.
John Lind. John Lind.
Oh, John, okay.
Thank you. Hey, Bruce, we go hiking and walking around Los Osos all the time. And is he on the line?
Yes, he is.
Okay. And when we cross LOVR at Alexander in front of the church there, it's a popular crossing, but it has no crosswalk. And for the price of some yellow paint, we could have a safe crosswalk there. We were there this morning waiting for cars who didn't stop for us one way and coming back from a hike up on Broderson and waiting for cars that didn't stop going the other way. So we'd appreciate it if you guys could look at Alexander and LVR for a crosswalk.
Okay.
And the other question is regarding the retrofit program that we've been waiting for new rules to come out. My understanding is that it's been waiting for a long time, and I just don't know what's taking so long. Can we look forward to those rules being promulgated so we can figure out our water picture?
Okay, John, I actually have the answer for that because I was talking with Corey. So that report will be done the end of April or early May, and it's been guaranteed that it will be finished in our hands at that time.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Bruce, I just.
No worries. No, and again, that's not necessarily a change to the rules. That is a review of how much water does retrofitting actually save, and how do we want to structure that program going forward?
Correct.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other council members? I don't see any flashing hands or hands raised, so we're going to go to Lindy. She was first. I will ask you to unmute.
Thank you. Good evening, Bruce.
Hi.
I had a couple questions. The first one is about this garbage rate increase. According to the paperwork that came in with our notice, was that when did the county decide to break away the unincorporated areas of the county from the IWMA? Do you remember, has that been a year and a half?
Something like that. It all sort of blurs together, but yeah, it was within the last couple of years. The board majority decided to pull us out of the IWMA, yes.
So while we're trying to change that and correct it so that the county unincorporated areas are back in the IWMA, doesn't that also show that we're probably going to come in at less money? That's one question. The point that I'm trying to make is that in 2020, it was an 8.8% increase that was not asked for from the ratepayers. But the next year, 2021, it jumped up to 24.3%, which to me then says something happened because that was under county management, which we all assumed would be more expensive because that isn't what the county public works does normally. So I had that question. There's also, I see no due date for the protests. Are we just to assume that up until the hearing on what you said was March 21st? That
Whenever the hearing, yeah, so that's an easy one. Whenever the hearing is, it is by the end of a period that's set during that public hearing. Written protests have to be received.
Okay, there's no notice on the information, so that wasn't very clear. So anyway, I think the IWMA, this whole idea of putting it on us right now rather than waiting till the IWMA decision seems kind of ahead of putting the cart before the donkey.
Well, let me speak to that if I can. We'll clear that one off. So this rate increase does not have anything to do with extra revenue being generated because of the withdrawal from the IWMA. In fact, one of the reasons, if not the main reason, that the LOCSD wanted the trash franchise back was they wanted to stay inside the IWMA. So all of this is predicated on LOCSD staying inside the IWMA. If we have not assessed the cost, the extra cost of the county handling solid waste outside the IWMA, which is about $1.5 million a year, plus or minus. That cost has not been passed on to what ratepayers remain as of yet. And depending on the timing of when we do this, it's probable that cost will not be passed on because we'll correct this, but that's dependent on actions in the future. Right now, that extra $1.5 million is being paid by the general taxpayer.
I just would have thought that the county would have gone ahead and given us a rate increase when it went up to 25% over and you hadn't collected anything. So
no.
Okay.
Anyway, my other point that is kind of bothersome is I live on 10th Street and the water coming down 10th Street overflowed on January, was it the 6th or 9th? And flooded the 9th, yeah. Both major events, the next one a week later, completely flooded a sixplex next door to me because the berm that was kind of damaged during the sewer installation and the way the street was cantilevered differently. Those were the first two big rains that we've had, and it completely flooded 4 inches deep, the entire large lot that the sixplex sat on. And then because I'm a little lower, it flooded my house. And when I called up and talked to Tim Coates about what would probably be like a $2,000, $2,500 job to come in and correct that berm, because and he agreed it's a street problem. It's bad design on the way the street ended up. But he said the county has no money and no plans on helping, and told us that we have to take care of it. So I'm just wondering, is that the attitude now from the county, is that it's on the property owner to keep county water from flooding them when it's obvious that it's the county street design?
So Lindy, if you'd like to give us, some detailed information about that, we can get a formal response from Public Works. The question of who's responsible for drainage improvements does vary from one situation to another. We just really have to know exactly the specific place and situation and what's happening there. So I can't speak to that as a general rule, but if you or any other property owner wants to ask about who's responsible for what drainage features, we're happy to get that answer for you.
My point is that we
Thank you,
did,
Lindy.
and I got a response from Tim Coates, so I will go above him and I'll contact you.
Just to let you know, it took me 10 years and I finally got Public Works. They're very engaged, but they just didn't fully commit to it until I really started making my phone calls, and they ended up finally clearing our area, because I ended up my entire office flooded last year and it's not covered by insurance, and we ended up paying it. They're usually not responsible for any kind of right of way. which is the big problem for like a lot of locations. So they can't help you except for enjoy it, but fight Lindy because that's how you have to do it.
Thank you. I will.
All right, next up is Becky McFarland. You've been asked to unmute.
Okay, good evening. I have a question in regards to homelessness, and I'm wondering, has the management of the Oklahoma Avenue site been officially taken on by Capslo yet? And what does that management consist of now?
So last I understood, the Capslo contract and their involvement at Oklahoma Avenue had lapsed. And as of right now, to my most current knowledge, a new contract has not been established. So right now, I think the county county staff are directly taking care of what issues need to be addressed there. And I'm not sure exactly what the next steps in that. As I say, in the wider context of homelessness, there's discussion about what sort of facility do we want to have that fills the need that's presented by Oklahoma, and that conversation hasn't been finalized yet.
Okay, so do we know why Capslo has not, and I did speak and have met with Jack Leahy, and I'm not clear on why, why have they not taken that on? I mean, that could be part of the reason, like Kristen brought up, about transportation and different things going on there. If who's managing that? Is it Joe Zavonic or?
Well, to your question, I don't know the why, and I'm not sure on a day-to-day basis, but we do have a homeless services division, and I would imagine that it is staff out of that division. But again, not specific knowledge of what happens on any given day.
Okay, and just a quick update on Palisades Avenue. During the day, we're seeing 14 vehicles there. Some of these vehicles have been there over 3.5 years. And then at night, there's 20 or so vehicles.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions for Supervisor Gibson? All right. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I appreciate it.
We'll see you. Have a good meeting. We'll catch up with you next time.
All right. Get better.
Feel better.
CSD report. I think we have Chris here tonight, correct? And I am asking you to unmute.
Hello. All right, at the CSD, we've been working on the design and construction for the emergency repairs to the Cabrillo stormwater basin. With upcoming storms, the staff will closely monitor the rain amounts and intensities, and they'll be deployed 24 hours a day if warranted. I think that was Ron. Last time Ron was up there all night, making sure the water was being diverted from where that break was. We're still waiting to hear from our insurance carrier. I think they were supposed to give us a report last Friday, and I think we still don't have it. Our capital projects update, the program Seawell is moving along. We have the plans for the transmission main to move the water into the district service area. That's complete. The bid project should be released on March 3rd and construction hopefully starting in June. The well equipping phase, pumps, motors, well housing, paving of the project is underway. The design should be complete late April with the construction starting June or July. We are currently doing a building condition assessment for Station 15, our fire station. I believe it was built in the 60s and part of it in the 70s, and it's probably going to need some attention. And we are basically getting a report that'll tell us what it needs. It should be an integral part of the emergency services strategic plan being developed by the district. We have a couple of board vacancies if anyone's interested in volunteering. One's in the Finance Committee, and the other is Emergency Services Advisory Committee. You can get a short application on the district website. If you have any questions, feel free to contact Ron Munns at the district office. I guess Bruce mostly talked about the trash assessment. We talked about it, I think in our January meeting, and Bruce is directing you to the county reports, but it's also on our website. I think mostly if the CSD had done the report, we'd still come up with the same conclusions of, I think it was like a 42% rate increase. The problem is that increase was supposed to start last year, and the delay in the increase is making it increase again just for this year, like another 49%. But after December 31st, 2023, it should go down again, but it's still a sizable increase, up 42%. But if you look at the numbers, what's causing the increase? I mean, I think a lot of you guessed what it is, but it's labor cost, fuel costs. They have a right to make a profit, and they had a deficit, and so they have the right to make it up per their contract. But anyway, I guess I direct you to see it. I don't see a way around it, really. Unfortunately. But anyway, I know that's probably not a happy answer, but costs have gone up, and I think we all have experienced that. So, any questions?
Any questions from council? Patrick?
Yeah, well, the way around it actually is the protest letter. So if the community feels that they can't afford it or don't agree with it, they need to send in a protest to the Board of Supervisors before the meeting comes up.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you could protest it, but we still need someone to take our trash, and it's not cheaper to do it ourselves. But feel free to protest.
Okay.
That's your right.
Okay, Larry Rayo.
What happens if 50% of the people do send in a protest, and then it has to get denied? What's our options at that point?
I don't know. You're gonna have to ask Ron on that one.
Okay.
I mean, we have a
Ron is
contract.
here, right here. Hi,
Yeah.
Ron. Not the way you want to come in, do you?
Good evening. I
Good
was
evening,
here
Ron.
just in case this came up. That'll be a tricky one. And, you know, I've been talking with others, agencies around the county. It's important to note that Cambria and Cayucas got similar increases in the, low 40% range. Our option would be to go out to bid. And that would be a tricky one in that if Waste Connections was the only one, or Mission Country Disposal was the only one to bid, and we didn't like what they had, we would be without a hauler. So we're kind of treading into unknown territory, but I'm optimistic we can come up with a solution. It's just really unfortunate. I've been doing solid waste rate setting for 30 years, and this was probably the most difficult process. I'm not really happy with Waste Connections and the way they've negotiated, but that's what we have right now. And we'll do our best to do the best for the community.
All right, any other questions for CSD? Okay, any questions from the community? No. All right, thank you guys, I appreciate it. Chamber of Commerce report.
Oh, Jim, you have to unmute.
I'm asking you to unmute right now. Okay, you're on.
All right. I tried to unmute prior to this, but okay. Chamber's really getting back in the swing of things thanks to new leadership. Our own Tom Cross, president of the chamber. We've had our installation, we've had our retreat, planning for the coming year. We've had our first board meeting. And it looks like our first event will be our award activity. And the committee is working on it. We hope to have something in place by middle or late April. That'll be the first event coming up.
Perfect. All right. Any questions for the chamber? Okay. Let's move on to public comments for items not on the agenda. Okay, I see we have Dave and Bev. I will ask you to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, it's Dave Bolus. Actually, I had a question for Jim first. And that was, is there going to be a Chamber of Commerce directory, and is it due to come out soon?
It's been published. I haven't seen it. Without an office, we haven't had a place for you to pick one up. I'd be happy, Dave, to maybe make connection. We can get copy. Yeah, I'm going to help deliver these copies to the motels and areas in the community which will have tourists involved. So try to get them out, but I'm not sure the distribution at this point, but it is done.
Okay, any other questions, Dave and Bev?
Yeah, this was a question for items not on the agenda, or at least I don't believe they're on the agenda. I've been speaking up at different meetings, talking about the increasing the visibility of LOCAC, and I noticed in the new Estero Bay News there was an article about a citizens group in Los Osos that's been active in fire prevention and other things, but also there's a notice in the Estero Bay News this time about the schedule of meetings that the CSD is having, but LOCAC doesn't seem to get into the newspaper, and it is put out by a guy who lives in Los Osos, and it seems like LOCAC could have something in there each time, at least telling when meetings are. That's all.
Thank you. Lindy, items not on the agenda, 3 minutes, and you've been asked to unmute. Okay. Wait, you're not unmuted. Try again. There you go.
Okay, I totally agree that planning ahead, like maybe the issue that's 2 weeks ahead of the meeting, the general meeting would be really good. And I'm pretty sure that that he would be happy to have like an ongoing schedule of other meetings. We want people to attend, you know, tree and landscape and the active transportation and some of these other groups. So I'm suggesting that, again, putting together what each month's agenda will be for different meetings and having the dates and just having an ongoing little space, which I believe he would provide us for free, would certainly help get people aware. But then we go back to the website and I'm kind of looking at, I noticed that LOCAC active tree removal requests from last month, there's nothing on it. And so I just wonder I know that there's just a handful of volunteers doing all the work, but I just wonder if working with the county, we can't get them to do what they were going to do, which was to give us the ministerial permits and for housing and separated tree permits for housing.
Those are
and just
on our
attach
website,
it right in.
Lindy. they're on our website. And they're on the website prior to the meeting. And I know I'm not supposed to respond. But they're
That's
on the
okay,
website.
but I'm looking at it and I opened it and there's nothing there. So thank you. That's all.
Okay, any other public comments? All right, let's move on to approve minutes from the January 26th meeting. May I get a motion?
Becky had her hands up.
Okay, Becky, 3 minutes.
Okay, sorry about that. I got my hand up a little late. I had a question and about a comment that has come up a number of times from our supervisor and others in regards to building in Los Osos. As some of you know, we had a large guest house, an attached guest house built on our street that it includes a bedroom, an office, a living room, a bathroom, a wet bar, and a garage. And we keep being told that the county considers this the same as adding a bedroom to an existing home. What I'd like to know, and I don't know if that's something Blake could help with, and I was hoping Corey Hahn would be here, is where in county, on the county website or in an ordinance, does it say that a building of that size is the same as a bedroom? Thank you.
All right. All right, let's move now to approval of the minutes from the January 26th. May I get a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay, can I get a second? Jim is a second. Can
Yeah.
all in approval? Raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Okay, the minutes pass. Thank you. Committee reports. Let's start with the treasury report. Jim?
Sure. Beginning balance January 1st. $3,408.02. We had income of interest, 29 cents. Our expenses exceeded that by quite a bit. $1,500 to the cultural creative collaborations, total of $1,500 for an ending balance of $1,908.31.
Perfect. Can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Yeah, I make a motion, we accept the treasurer's report.
Can I get a second? Okay. Larry says second, like Rayo. All in favor, raise your hand. Perfect. All right. Larry Bender, land use. Oh, let me unmute you. Okay.
There we go.
Larry, you should be good.
Yeah, I've got dogs barking in the background. Anyway, so we just had one project at our last meeting, a gaming, electronic gaming business going into the Ralph's Shopping Center, and that's going to be on our consent agenda. Would like to tell everyone, though, we've got an exciting new meeting coming up in March, and we've got 4 items on it. One's a new house, another's a garage remodel, and 2 hotel projects in Baywood. So it should be a lively meeting, a lot of discussion going on.
I missed it.
That's about it.
I didn't hear Larry say what's happening in Baywood.
No, his next meeting.
Yeah, I know, but he, the computer, messed up what he had to say. What's happening in Baywood?
I'll try to end it. 2 issues with the hotels in Baywood.
Yeah. Well, what are they?
Go to the land use website. They're
Okay.
listed on the agenda there.
All right.
And you can see what's going on.
Sounds good.
All right, trees and landscaping. John?
Well, that's me, and I've got not a whole bunch to say, but we completed our planning over there. Thanks to everybody who helped over there at the community park. And we're working for looking at other new projects. a couple of options are to do a GoFundMe program for trimming the trees in front of the along in front of the, well, I'm losing my the nature preserve.
Sweet Springs?
Thank you. Sweet Springs, to trim the trees along Sweet Springs on that street there. And then I'm also concerned about the eucalyptus trees along Petcho, that if you go walking along there, there's been a couple of trees that have been trimmed and we're not quite sure what's going on there, but I would hate to lose those trees. As everybody might know, there's a pending large subdivision adjacent that property, and I'm hoping that the fellow that owns that property doesn't intend to take those trees that line Petcho down. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Lindy, you have your hand up.
Am I unmuted?
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to bring up an ongoing thing that I think we all need to maybe get an answer to. The county went ahead, or it was allowed at the laundromat in Baywood.
Okay, I'm sorry, Lindy, is this about trees and landscaping? That's what we're discussing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had my hand up and didn't make it into talking with Larry, but so I would agree. A lot of the eucalyptus are being cut in the grove on the opposite side. They're thinning them out and taking a lot of them down. But I think that's I'll be involved with anything that protects and defends eucalyptus and keeping them safe because they're #1 CO2 collectors. So they're important and they're the only big habitat we have left. So that's all. But I thank the work we've been getting done.
Thank you. Anything else, John?
That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Water report, Deborah and Larry Rayo.
Yeah, I have the report tonight. I'm just getting over a cold, so my voice is a little scratchy. Hopefully that won't be a problem. Trish, can I share screen, please?
Yes.
So last Friday, I took a tour of the wastewater recycling facility, and I have some pictures.
Okay, you should be able to jump on.
Let's see here. And so I just thought we would take a look at what this facility is all about. This is a nice drone picture. Can everybody see it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so so a few facts about the project. The entire Los Osos sewer project includes 49 miles of pipelines, 21 pump stations, and serves about 5,000 homes and businesses. The water recycling facility has a capacity of 1.2 million gallons per day, which will be treated to Title 22 tertiary standards, and then it's reused within the community. This recycling facility cost about $48 million, was funded with over $21.5 million in grants, as well as 2 long-term subsidized low-interest construction loans. So let me get rid of all your little lovely pictures and see if we can scroll. So here is in a nutshell what happens at the recycling facility. It starts over here with the effluent. This was actually collected the day I was there. And then it goes through an oxidation ditch where the solids settle out, and then it's clarified, taken through one more cycle where the solids are actually swept away and separated from the water. And then the water is recycled through filters. And we'll show you a few more pictures just because here's their laboratory where they test the water, and they test it all the time for bacteria, making sure they have the right, it's within the right parameters. This is the first stage where they use anaerobic. They don't want any oxygen into the affluent because it is, they're looking to remove hydrogen. And then the next stage would be where they add oxygen in. So there's 2 stages here before they separate the solids. And when I told you this facility can process 1.5 million gallons a day, we actually are only using half of this facility because we're only supplying 500,000 gallons per day of affluent. And if you look over onto the right, you'll see there's another setup and it's empty because we're not using this facility to capacity. This is what they call the oxidation ditch. That's what you were just looking at. Here's some of the pipes. And then if you see this round thing on the right-hand side, that's actually a sweep on the bottom, and it's sweeping the solids away. And then the water on top is trickling over a little dam and collecting on the other side. So that's how they separate it out. These are the filters. They look like huge, thick pieces of carpet, very fine carpet. The water then gets squeegeed through this. And then it's sent through a series of UV lights to kill off any further bacteria. And the solids go through this pipe, it's collected. And actually there was no smell at this facility until you actually got to the place where the solids came out, and it's like a little crumbly compost in a way. And there was a slight smell there, but other than that, there's no smell of anything there. And then let's see, here we have a little video, and this is the water that is going to be recycled, and it's collected into these ponds, and then it's sent, and I'm going to tell you where it's going. According to the 2022 draft water report by the BMC, the water recycling facility took in 528 acre feet and released back to the community 523 acre feet. I think that's amazing. Sea Pines received 66 acre feet of that. Bay Ridge Leach Field received 17.4 acre feet, and the Broderson Leach Field received 437 acre feet. And as you probably know, this is where we send the water, majority of the water, to create a mound of pressure to push back the seawater. And just to translate those numbers for you, or you can translate them if you like, 1 acre foot is equal to 326,000 gallons. That's just 1 acre foot. So it's pretty impressive. The county is working with the San Luis Coastal Unified School District to develop an agreement for the schools to use also this recycled water for irrigation. We talked about Title 19 already. I'm going to stop screen share because I'm going to shift gears here. But there's something else, and we don't always talk about this, and that is Condition 6. Condition 6 is also in the prohibition zone. The prohibition zone is where everybody has to hook up to the sewer. And Condition 6 is the Los Osos Wastewater Project Coastal Development Permit, and it prohibits wastewater service to undeveloped properties. So if you have a lot in the prohibition zone, you're not allowed to connect to the sewer because of Condition 6. And this is until the Estero area plan is amended to identify appropriate and sustainable build-out limits and any appropriate mechanisms to stay within such limits based on conclusive evidence indicating that adequate water is available to support development of such properties without adverse impacts to ground and surface waters, including wetlands and habitats. So often I get the question, well, why can you build up there, but nobody can build down here? Well, this is why, because in the prohibition zone, you have Condition 6, and it doesn't allow for you to connect to the sewer, and you're not allowed to have a septic tank. Up in the Highlands and Cabrillo and a certain area called Martin Track, where you could still have a septic, on-site septic. Those are areas where you are still allowed to build. So that's the difference. And that's the end of my report. I'm happy to take any questions and try to answer them to the best of my ability.
Any questions from council first? Okay, Lindy, do you have your hand up?
Patrick had his hand up.
Okay,
Thank you.
first Patrick.
The picture that you had was the, I think 6 or 7 glasses there. And we stopped at the recycled one. The one right next to that was tap water. What happened to that one?
Well, they don't actually take it all the way to tap water. Tap water obviously has to be processed through a water purveyor where they add in chlorine and things like that. We're not taking the water to the level where you can actually take it into your home.
Okay, so that wasn't something that they had set up there at the recycling.
They were setting that up so you could see the clarity.
Oh,
You would
okay.
see the changes in color
Right,
as
right.
it went through the process. And then when you look at the end, the recycled water and the tap water, they look the same. They're not the same, but as far as the clarity of it, it looked the same.
Right.
Good question.
Right, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other council questions? Okay, Lindy?
I wish more of us had heard about that tour. I went on the initial tour. But again, one of the problems with what I see as the purple pipe production and where that water goes, it was originally sold to us that it would go to farm and ag, which is right there, instead of shipping it as far as you could ship it all the way across town, which is expensive. And currently, what has been part of the problem is they want to charge the farmers way too much money for water that they can get for free, with their own personal well costs. But if we wanted to see offset of water and see the fastest direction towards preserving our sustainability, would be to get that water treated well enough and drop the price down and give it to the farmers so they would stop their well production. That would stop pulling out an unknown amount of water. It's always been a guesstimate. So again, the sewer has not changed our nitrates, has had small impact on the seawater intrusion. So
Okay,
it's nice that we have it, but
okay.
again, I think there's, I haven't seen an annual report in 6 years to see how well it's functioning, what the cost might be. Sorry to take so long.
Thank you. Next question, Becky. I'm asking you to unmute.
Okay, just real quick, and it's kind of an answer to Lindy. There, you can take a tour like Deborah did, and I was hoping to get in on that one too. It was with the water board.
Water board.
Right, it was with the water board, but you had to respond by that Monday. But I'm going to be trying to set up one for people that want to come because they do them all the time. So you can let me know if you want to come.
Perfect. Thank you.
It was fascinating. And I want to tell you that the people who work there, they are incredibly proud of the work they do. The place is, I mean, you could see it's kind of spotless. And they're just really super proud of how they run that facility. So it was kind of cool. And I think it is, it's interesting. I'm trying to get some information about this because I think we can assume December and January, very few people were watering, especially farmers. We're not pumping. And so I'm going to be seeing if I can get some actual data from the water purveyors and some estimates as to how much water was saved during December and January because people were not outside watering. It would be interesting. So next month, check in.
Okay, Larry Rio.
Yeah, well, an interesting fact that not too many people realize is that the water treatment plant is actually treating the water for nitrates down to like 2 milligrams per liter when they only have to treat it to about 7. So, I have a question as to why they're treating it over treating it and then sending it off when it doesn't need to be, and how much that actually costs, because it definitely costs a lot more to treat it to the levels that they're treating it to. And it might have to do with some of the dilution that they need to do in reusing some of the effluent. So anyway.
I can't answer that question, but I think it's a great question.
Okay, all right, let's move on to active transportation. Deborah.
Okay, turn the page. All righty. March 3rd, we will be at 9 a.m. We will be having our first meeting of the stakeholders with the consulting group FAIR, FEHR, and peers for our Safe Track safety assessment, which, you know, we've been waiting for this to happen, and now we have a date. And we have a Zoom invitation. So super excited to report back on that next month. And then I see John D'Annunzio's here, but I am going to mention that there's a public review draft of the 2023 Regional Transportation Plan and Addendum. SLOCOG will be holding a public hearing to receive comments on the draft.
He's going to talk about that right next.
Sorry?
He's going to talk about that in about 5 minutes.
Okay, well then I won't say any more because my voice is going out anyway.
Yes. Okay. Anything, any other questions for Deborah? I don't want you to steal his thunder because that's what
I
he's
don't
gonna
want
talk
to steal
about.
it.
Okay. Let's move on to consent agenda. Larry Bender, can you explain the item, please?
Yeah, Kristen Turan is opening up a gaming center, you know, playing old electronic games and stuff. And not quite sure why the county gave it to us at land use, but we talked about it and reviewed it. You know, some people, I guess, might have questions about gaming centers, but we didn't see any issue with it, and thought it was a good thing to have here in our community. So we voted on it, and everyone agreed to put it on the consent agenda and approve it.
Okay. Can we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
John, can we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Can I have one more point of, I don't know if it's even point of parliament. We agreed to not say it was approved, but it was like to recommend, remember?
To recommend, yes. Thank you.
Technically,
You are very
technically,
correct. You're, yep.
the motion was to approve the consent agenda, which is
Okay, thank you. Yes, Tom.
Yeah, there we go.
See, I knew Tom could do that for us. Okay. All right, a regular agenda item. We are so fortunate to have John D'Annunzio tonight to talk about the SLOCOG 2023 Regional Transportation Plan. Let's bring him up. And I just saw you. Where did you go? Okay. There you are.
Okay, perfect. Hi. Hi, good evening. I'm John. No thunder stolen on that. I'm John D'Annunzio. I'm a regional transportation planner with the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments, and I'm the North County planner. So I cover SLO North County, up Paso, Shandon, and East County, but as well as the North Coast, including the community of Los Osos. And so I'll be presenting the 2024 regional transportation plan. It's a long range planning document, and so I'll drill into that and give sort of a primer on what that is. But first, I'll start with just a bit of a background for yourselves and for any of the public that or community members who might be listening. SLOCOG is an association of all of our local governments in the county, which is made up of the 7 cities. So there's Arroyo Grande, Atascadero, Grover Beach, Bay, Paso, etc. They all sit on our board, as well as the 5 county supervisors on our board. So we have 12 elected board members, and Caltrans does sit on our board, but they're ex officio, so they don't get a vote. But the relationship that we have with Caltrans is as a state transportation agency that they are, is very important for us. So our primary role and responsibility includes planning and funding for transportation in our region. We also serve as a forum for the study and the resolution of regional issues, regional transportation issues. Now, every 2 to 4 years, we also program funds for about 100 transportation projects. Again, they're federal, state, and local revenue. So we're thinking a little bit bigger picture. But we also run a number of programs, and some of those you might recognize from our agency are shown here at the bottom of our screen: our Safe Routes to School program, Park and Ride Lots, ride sharing, and there's even a freeway service patrol. So as far as sort of the screen that you're looking at here, this is a tool called the Regional Transportation Outlook tool. It is kind of a complementary or a complement to the 400 plus page draft regional transportation plan that is now a public review draft. And I'll be explaining a bit more about how you can find it and etc. But I just wanted to point out that there is a way to visualize the information instead of just looking at the pages and the spreadsheets of projects. So some of the projects that we've worked on together in the past include the El Moro Bikeway Path. Back in the 90s, we helped with Elvin Forest land acquisition, some of the seed money, the Santa Isabel traffic calming. More recently, the traffic lights at Napomo and South Bay Boulevard. We were partners with SLO County Public Works. We're working with them also on the new bridge construction at Torrey Road. And then some of the crossings, I heard Los Valley Road mentioned earlier tonight. I think Alexander was mentioned by one of your constituents. We had helped with the signals at Doris and Palisades, the Safe Routes to School crossings there in the past. So, a regional transportation plan, it's something that the California Code section calls out. We take a 20-year view of it. So it's a forecast ahead. We make projections of revenue and expenditure, and I'll probably be getting a little bit into those in just a few slides, but not too many slides. And we have to update this every 4 years. So it's something that we're mandated to do by the state and the federal government. This plan is sort of an amalgamation of other plans. So within it, you will find elements of your traffic and circulation element. There are sections from the county's housing element included in it. And then, so the cities like Pismo and Grover Beach, we have amalgamated that information into the regional transportation plan, as well as the transit plan. So the bus network and the runabouts, etc. The airport land use plans, both North County Airport, El Paso, and then our primary airport. And then there's state guidelines and guidance that helps us run policies or with SB 375 and CARB targets for the Sustainable Community Strategy. There's a lot of acronyms on my sheet. I apologize for that. And then, of course, the whole state of California's transportation plan and even federal guidance. So there was a new transportation bill just a year and a half ago. And so we are watching the policies, the new programs, and the new federal money, and we're trying to capitalize on those new programs for our region. With one recent win being a regional safety plan coming up starting next fiscal year. So in order to put this plan together, one of the things we did was we have been doing outreach and polling in the last year. Some of you may or may not have been contacted, or may not have seen some of the polling or some of the tools. We had a little tool called This Is Your Budget, right? So imagine you are yourselves up on the LOCAC board and are having to help us to decide how do we balance the limited revenue that we have? Do we put more on highways? Do we put more on interchanges? Do we do more for transit? Do we do more for our local smaller communities, safety, active transportation? Our county doesn't necessarily agree on which modes and which modal priorities we should prioritize. So we're constantly trying to best update that view and best determine it. And so we had a little online game tool that did it. In fact, we did 5 online surveys that have gone into the plan. Including a fuel tax tool. So fuel tax is very important to our transportation revenue. And if any of you have ever taken a transportation 101 planning class, you would have inevitably seen the chart where the fuel tax pays for the roads. And so, but the more fuel efficient a vehicle becomes, the less money is available for the roads. So it's great that cars are going electric and that they're becoming more fuel efficient. But the revenue sources that we have to pay for our repairs to our potholes and to our bridge decks and our bridges and our culverts and is as we're hearing earlier today, the county's running a deficit. And so it puts them in a very tricky spot where, the status quo that the county can do is road maintenance. And so it doesn't leave a whole lot for betterments, but there is kind of a policy struggle there. And this regional transportation plan outlines some of those areas where we can pull state and federal levers in. So the RTP, has a number of different chapters: policy element, financial element, action element, and the sustainable community strategy. Each of these elements is probably 30 or 40 pages thick. Again, this is a 400 pager, but we've tried to make it easy to navigate it. Some of the goals that the way we've structured it, we have these 7 pillars and the goals around infrastructure, mobility, economy, safety, healthy communities, environment, and fiscal responsibility. And really the financial element is where we look at we forecast the revenue. So I think earlier Supervisor Gibson was talking about an annual budget at the county of about $750 million a year that the county has. Now in transportation, if we include Caltrans, the county, the 7 cities, everybody, it runs about 124 million per year. And if I did my math right on my iPhone just a minute ago, over 25 years, 124 million will get you to the 3.1 billion number, was in the revenue column. And again, I know this is very high, I was going to say pie in the sky kind of numbers, but really that's what it pencils out to, and that's how we projected. It's just a straight line projection. There are some factors for inflation and other things that we look at with our, we have probably 30 to 40 revenue sources that we've included in the financial plan to come up with the modeling. But then there's the need side, right? This is the list of projects. These are the unmet needs. These are the the new bridges that need to be built, or improving the roads, bike paths, and safe routes to school programs and things, more transit. And so not just for the community of Los Osos, but for the whole community, the whole county and the whole county region. Those needs over 25 years total up $5.4 billion, according to our latest estimation. Now, keep in mind, we do this every 4 years, so things do change. But if you start to break it out into the investment types, again, the highways, the major roads, local road maintenance, public transit, active transportation, you can see the first column is our projected revenue, the second column is projected need, and the third is deficit. So if you're a policy maker or a citizen or a constituent, you might say, well, I don't support active transportation, or why are you building so many highways? I don't think that we should make the investments. We shouldn't be balancing our money as much in those areas. But all of that is what is found in our plan. And at the end, we have this public draft, and these are the numbers that we're looking at. For transit, we expect to maintain the existing services and expand it just a little. But this won't keep pace, for example, with our projected population increase, which is projected to increase about 16%. And so that's where, yeah. Okay, so what this slide is then highlighting is the zero. So if we look at just our revenue sources of being local, a lot of times those are development impact fees or local taxes. In some areas, there can be some value capture around interchanges that are being built. But then there's also the state money and then the federal money. I mentioned the federal transportation bill or law, which is the IIJA federal bill. But at the region, we don't have a regional funding source. So we're different than a lot of other counties in California. In fact, about 90% of California's population reside in counties that collect a regional guaranteed transportation fund through the sales tax. So these are collected from tourists as well as locals, and around the state, there are 25 such counties, including our neighbors, Santa Barbara, Monterey, Santa Cruz. They all have a portion of their sales tax dedicated for regional transportation to help fill the need for transportation projects, whereas we're depending solely on local, county, state, and federal budgets to support all of our transportation needs. And as a result, many of the projects on our list don't have a way of being funded. So this is a similar predicament of what County Public Works is facing, except it's on a regional basis. So, all right. Another really important part of the plan, and I swear I'm almost near the end of my slides. It's getting late for everyone. Is the sustainable community strategy. So this is very interesting. This is the last piece that's required in the regional transportation plan. And it's here where we look and we plan for the future 44,000 population. So by 2045, the census and ourselves and others in the state, we project there will be 44,000 new residents of San Luis Obispo County and 18,000 new homes, 18,000 new jobs. And so the sustainable community strategy says, where are they going to live and work? You know, which city is going to do its part to provide more workforce housing, or more housing generally, or more jobs? Where can they grow within each of the city's general plan? We look at the inventory of all of the general plans of the cities in the county. And we look at the new housing projects that are in the pipeline, and then we look at more jobs where they might be based upon the general plans and then their projections. So through this effort, we're able to work with the jurisdictions to spread out the new growth and improve the job housing balance across our region, while protecting farmland, open space, and achieve greenhouse gas reductions. Okay, so all of that and more you will find in the public review draft of the Regional Transportation Plan. It can be found at slowcog.org/2023 RTP. We are accepting comments on this plan until Thursday, April 6th. There are more opportunities to provide comment at a public hearing. For example, we're having a public hearing down in Arroyo Grande City Hall on Wednesday, April 5th. And we can also take comments or welcome to email. I'm going to come back to that slide, to James Worthley as our planning director. I noticed he did not put his phone number on here, which is very clever. But you can see his jworthley@slowcog.org. And I'll just go back to this, because if you go to around page 230 of 370, is where you'll start to find the projects that are listed for Los Osos. So it might save you a little bit of digging around if you want to just do a little inspection. And that is the end of my presentation.
John, that was excellent. Thank you so much. I really appreciated that. Do we have any questions from the council?
Hi, John. I had a question. I have not read it, so I'm sorry if you should just tell me to read it. But you mentioned that this is actually like a huge problem. And when you verbalized it, I was like, oh no. You were talking about how, obviously, as we go electric, the revenues go down. But are we factoring in reduced wear for going electric? Because typically those vehicles are lighter, they're not using as much. And like same thing, are we factoring in increased use and better transit? Because like that stuff I could see it shrinking, where we're always like, oh no, we're losing money, but at the same time, you don't have to keep it up as much.
Yeah, it's a constant sort of analysis and projections, and it seems like every 2 years there might be some new way to accommodate or estimate the number of vehicle miles traveled in vehicles. So you might have seen that there were demonstrations of people putting in almost like a taxi cab that keeps track of the time and the mileage of vehicles. And sample people were kind of driving these all around the state of California, and they learned a lot by doing that process. So I mean, something that might go into a car that would help you keep track of your mileage would be one very serious possibility for doing that. But then there's all these disbenefits of like personal rights, privacy rights. And then, what if you're a rancher who's got a really big parcel, and you say you've got 300-acre farm and you have your own 15-mile road that you're driving, do you really hit it and everything that you're doing, you're moving hay. Like, do you hit this on and off every single time you leave your property? So probably not. But those are all technology will have to continue to innovate ways, and eventually the gas tax and possibly gasoline, right, will be fossil fuels anyway, will be going away. So our industry of transportation and building highway, streets, and roads will has to change.
Okay, any other council questions? Thank you. All right, Lindy, did you have a question?
Great presentation. That clarified a lot. I had a number of just questions. Again, when the roads, road maintenance has been almost depressing to watch them fall to pieces before they get at least patched. And so that's a point that it costs a lot more to fix them after they're destroyed. Can bike lanes maybe in Los Osos be considered to be multimodal? Because we have no sidewalks, there are streets that people use that have a bike lane. And if there was some way to consider that all three, baby strollers, bicycles, and pedestrians and handicap chairs could all use a certain lane in some of these tracks, like where the bike lanes are possibly, but that's a question. A public transit, I wish that we could see smaller buses, half-size buses that were more on the electric side. I just see these giant ones empty. And then my other question that you didn't bring up, but because you oversee the airport, I've noticed a lot of people are starting to feel frustrated at the increased air flights that are going over. The airport now is expanded. It has bigger planes. There are more flights. I forgot how many. There's like 50 a day, or maybe I'm crazy there, but there's a lot of, and what's happening in Los Osos is a lot of noise is added to everything. There's some that fly so low so it's the noise problem is affecting everybody on that route. So I wonder if that's something you address, or because if they could take different routes, or I don't know what it would take to get them quieter as they fly over us. That was just that. But thank you so much. Good presentation. I'll read the report or the draft. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. And I'll go back, backwards in order. So with the airport, we receive information from them. I mean, they manage, the airport manages themselves, and we receive information on onboardings and offboardings, and we track sort of annually the usage and passengers that are traveling to and from. And that is also shared with other, with tourism, etc. We are not a regulatory agency, so for say noise pollution, that is it's not really within our remit for the airport, but I still recognize it as a problem, especially if an airplane was, is circling over a community, while it's trying to land, and low, that can be very disturbing. I think the second question was it about road maintenance, Lindy?
Either the bike lanes being made more multimodal so that we actually have safe places for walkers, and all the other.
Yeah, so I mean, all of it, it's governed around the nation by the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and the public works, working in conjunction with the sheriffs. Sheriffs do enforcement, and then public works are who build or don't build sidewalks, or put in, some of the traffic wands that are around the community of Los Osos, around corners, are clever safety, traffic calming type places, and some of the gravel shoulders seem to be used for walking around the bay. And there's, engineers have to decide how much are they going to build and how much they're not going to build. Meaning how much of a barrier do you put up or not?
I didn't actually mean a barrier. The idea of making something that we don't currently have, which is to turn a bike lane into a more defined place for multiple walkers in a town that has in an area that has no sidewalk. If that's just something that we could look at, is it legal? Without barriers. I mean, just to have a place that cars know is not for them to drive in.
I think the route for that would be through the county bicycle advisory committee, and they could take it up, and then they could take it up with the county. And I know it's an uphill battle. I know that type of ordinance is not an easy thing to have changed. But
thank you. Yeah. And then the other one was about the maintenance on the roads. I think is there some reason that they don't get better maintenance to make them hang out while the rest of the money comes in to actually do a complete job? LOVR is an example. It fell to pieces for 3 years.
Sure, but I mean, I also have to kind of give credit to our partners at Public Works with the street maintenance. I think they use the limited budget they have to make it go as far as they can, and so I'm gonna kind of go in their corner for a minute. I mean, the new asphalt that's on LOVR from Torrey Road to right at South Bay Boulevard. Well, no, it doesn't go as far as South Bay Boulevard. It goes to like the creek or near,
the creek.
Just before it goes down the hill. So I think they did like 2 or 3 layers of asphalt.
It's
like
beautiful.
It's a really nice piece of road, and I think it's wider now. And
my point was that it sat for 3 years, deteriorated, and many of us, had accidental things in our vehicles when we hit them. I just wondered why some maintenance wouldn't go forward as fast as they could while we wait for the full beautiful job that they did do. I love it. It's great. But I remember having to learn how to drive around these 2-inch deep giant potholes as the road fell to pieces. So it's just,
I don't think we can answer that question.
Yeah, no, it's just, I sort of see that when you're looking at roads and how usable they are, it's not about replacing them completely. It's also about maintaining them while you get to a point where you can do that. So that's all. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah. And I would just comment that when we think of road maintenance, we also kind of loop road maintenance and bridges in a similar category, because if a bridge fails or cracks, then it's no longer possible to use the road. Like and I know the 2 bridges on South Bay and Morro Bay are not within Los Osos, but I think the community probably uses that road on a daily basis. Some of the people who head that way. And that bridge was replaced probably in the early 90s or maybe mid 90s, and was flooded, during the storm surge. And there's scouring underneath the bridge. And we're hearing from the city of Morro Bay that they have concerns that that bridge might not make it, with climate change and sea level rise and what it was all underwater.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about that? So
Priorities change. No, I just mean, never mind. I know what I
No, no.
tried to say, but I guess you didn't get it. So that's okay. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for John? As the rain starts pouring down. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And I skipped outreach. So let's go back to outreach.
All right, hi, I'll go quickly. To Lindy's point, actually, the file she was looking for actually should have been on the new section that I added that I didn't really, where I was putting crime statistics and stuff, which is on the documents, it says miscellaneous county review, but it got added to the agenda for this week. So I know why she couldn't find it. And I know why you thought it was there because it was on the website, but not there. So she's probably looking there. We'll get there. Let's see. I created an autoresponder for emails, letting people know we infrequently check emails because sometimes I'll get email and they think that we're sitting there just waiting. So it says that we check basically Monday, Friday, because that's what I'm at. We also have a contact sheet. I sent it out in a newsletter. If you want us to engage with your favorite organization, please submit them to us so that number one, we don't miss anybody. And number two, we don't have kind of favoritism stuff. So we're working with the CSD and we're going to be trying to bring in a lot more people in to participate. And so the first place we want to do is get that contact sheet and start there. So if you are parts of organizations, please write into LOCAC and give us that information. And then final thing is I would like to announce that I am stepping down as chair and giving it to Tom because he is always very, very helpful. And I am definitely underwater with all the things I'm doing. I'd rather use my skills that way. And I would like to thank Tom for being a champion in all ways and taking on all of the leadership roles. And that's all I've got.
All right, thank you. Dave and Bev, do you have a question for outreach?
Yeah, it's Dave. I was just wondering when outreach meets, and I was under the impression there was going to be a meeting last night and it didn't seem to happen. That's all.
I sent you a text last night when you reached out and I said the meeting starts at 6 p.m., not 7. So when you reached out, the meeting was already over.
Oh, it said it hadn't been opened yet. Okay, thanks.
And just to clarify, outreach is scheduled to meet every fourth Wednesday at 6 p.m.
I also forgot, we developed a flyer I should share. Let me see if I can share.
It's the last thing she said.
So one of the things we are working on right now is developing a flyer that we can use both electronically at events, posting up so that we can do a little bit more activism and bring in more people and more participation. You can see the links down below on the website. And the next plan is hopefully to start using those contact lists as well as Canvas, as well as do a little bit more work there. But we haven't solidified that. There's a lot of really cool ideas coming out, but we need to do a little bit more. What are we going to do with this now that we have it? So if you have any input or issues, especially for the council, please let us know, because it is not, it's also extremely easy to adjust. So no worries. All right, now I'm done.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to our last piece. Lindy, quick. You should be unmuted.
Can't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was pretty sure I needed to be unmuted. I just had thanks for all the work you do. The website's slowly, just looking great, and we can find things. But I wanted to suggest, it's a pretty simple side project to do, but to get the email list. We used to have people that signed up from the website and said, yeah, I want to, get your announcements of meetings. And a very simple way would be to resurrect whatever that was. Even for our meetings, the couple that I'm go to, I don't get notices. Nobody emails me to say, don't forget 2 days from now is at so-and-so. an attachment of agenda. That it's just it will bring more people into involvement if it's easy to get to. And if you're on an email list that just shoots you an email, 2 days before each committee meeting and at least a week before the LOCAC, this meeting, I think that you'll have a lot more activity as much as you can keep it simple. I don't want to make it complicated, but it used to be a real help to me to remind me if I forgot, or it was just a way to notify more people. That's
Thank you.
all. So,
Kristen. Asked to unmute.
If you would volunteer to do that, that's awesome. It requires
A lot of work.
every single time we do that, and I'm not up for that. And if you're wondering why I'm talking really loud, I'm in a metal box and it's raining really hard and I can't hear very well. So I apologize if I missed anything.
Okay. Tom.
Perhaps just putting the dates whenever the newsletter comes out, or when each committee meets, might be the compromise that doesn't mean an significant increase in workload.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else for outreach? We done? Woohoo. Thank you, guys. The committee's going great, I think. The last item we have is I was asked by a couple council members, and I received an email from a resident of Morrow Shores sharing some concerns about the 10 new homes that are going to be added to their community. Just a little history on that. Land Use and LOCAC worked on this project for a couple months, I know December and January, and we voted January 28th to approve this project, but we had a bunch of conditions on this. One of our conditions was that instead of a 1-to-1 retrofit for water, it had to be a 2-for-1, just like any other house. So that was done by them. We also listened to the community, and the community was worried about, they were worried about the trees that were going to be put in, that they would be too tall and would wreck their views. That had been rectified. The Morrow Shores company reduced their water usage from 3788 gallons a day to 527 gallons a day. So that's some of the background. LOCAC itself and Land Use have already voted on this project. It's already gone through the planning department, to the planning commissioners, it's been appealed, it's now going to the Board of Supervisors. So after working with Corey and Claire, the planning department, basically what they have told me is that individuals and everyone is more than invited to write a letter. But since LOCAC has already, has already advised on this project, we really can't advise a second time. But we can't individually, not as LOCAC, but individually we can write letters. So I'm going to open it up for discussion for council members. Patrick?
Yes, I'll give a little more background also. So I was the one that, one of the ones that requested this be on the agenda. I was approached by several members of the community at Morrow Shores and asked if the LOC, if LOCAC could go ahead and write a letter of opposition. They thought actually that you had recommended, how would you say, not a denial, but whatever words you want to use on this, that Land Use did, and we couldn't find anything. I looked on the website going back. When you said in December, I think you're talking about December 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
December 2020, and we voted on it January 28th, 2021, and we approved the project, both Land Use and LOCAC.
No, I don't think anybody, including myself, could find any of the minutes on the website to find out. Right, that's what they sent. That's what I think.
And we also have a letter from Sue Morgenthaler.
Wait. Could I just finish?
Sure.
Thank you very much. So nobody, including myself, on the website could find the minutes from land use or from LOCAC back in 2020 and 2021 January. So because this was approved evidently by LOCAC in 2020 or 2021 January, that was over 2 years ago. I think LOCAC was probably expecting that the Title 28 would be coming out pretty quickly. It hasn't even yet. So
No, we weren't thinking that.
So the 2-to-1 offsets, first of all, as you know, well, I sent everybody the amicus brief that the attorney for those sustainability group had written up, which gives multiple reasons why this project shouldn't be approved or gone through. And a lot of it has to do with condition 6 of the CDP, which said, as I think Deborah was saying, that if you have a lot in the moratorium area, which this is in the moratorium area, you cannot build on it or get sewer hookup to it, which this does. I know the county doesn't consider these as lots. These are spaces. The Coastal Commission has a different view on that. So I was just thinking it would be nice for this group, LOCAC, to be able to support the community. This has been over 2 years now. There's been a lot more that's come up. There's been a lot more discussion on our water issues. And it is the reason we are here is to support our community, not individual developers or groups or anything like that, but our community. And I think there's a lot of people from that community that are here tonight that would like to speak. So I'll just end it at that and let them say what they want to say.
But right now it's council that are speaking, and you weren't on the committee at that time, Patrick, and we had lots and lots of discussion on this, and we talked to them, we looked at blueprints, and we made an action, and we advised, and we have it from Sue Morgenthaler to Carrie Brown, everything that happened, how we voted, the whole bit. So it wasn't like we weren't looking at things. I mean, this was something that this committee looked hard at for 2 months. So let's open it up to other council members and see what they have to say.
I suppose I'll go. Let's start with supporting the community. Is from what I can gather reading through the documents regarding this project, the project has supported the community in that when this came before our board back in 2020 and 2021, the community and the council had a list of concerns that they wanted to see addressed before this project was seen through. From what I can tell, all of those concerns, or the majority of them, have been addressed. And to say that we are ignoring the community ignoring the community by continuing to support a project that they supported is a bit nonsensical to me. Second, let's talk about the procedure of changing something that we discussed. It is possible, but it seems in bad taste to decide something and rescind something that we've decided without the due process that would be afforded to it in the first place. We're being asked to reconsider something without it having to go through land use and not the due process required to have the developer speak, have the community speak. We're just being told what we should consider by a few people of the community who's speaking through one council member. Thank you.
Any other council members?
Me.
Deborah?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I thought that was well said. I was not on the council at the time that this was considered. it wouldn't really be possible for me to agree to sign a letter supporting a position when I'm not fully aware of this particular project. And where's the property owner? They're not here to represent themselves. And so that's basically a non-starter for me. And I think Trish makes a very good point that the process has happened. We're down the road already. It's not like it's circling back. And so now it's time for it to go to the Board of Supervisors. There's opportunity there for people to show up and make their public comment. They can write letters. And as you pointed out, you already have your Amicus brief ready to submit to the Coastal Commission. So, as far as I can see, the project's probably going to get stalled out anyway, based on that. Based on past experience anyway. That's my comment.
I'm gonna go with the chair's position on this.
Jim, let me unmute you. Okay, you've been asked to unmute. Okay, Jim. Oh, you just, here, let me do it again. Okay. Here, you should. Okay, I've asked you to unmute.
I'm trying
There you go.
valiantly. There you go.
You're good.
Okay, I remember sitting through this discussion at that time, 2021, and I felt like it was pretty well discussed, evaluated, recommendations made, dealt with fairly at that. I do agree that if there's two issues that people want to talk, do it at the board. I don't see that as our place. Not our.
Tom?
Yes, I just forgot that I wanted to take this time to discuss this to emphasize how exciting it was that LOCAC has made an impact in a recommendation. They came to us, we voiced our concerns, and our concerns were heard, and they enacted on that with the 2-to-1 water offsets. So because of LOCAC and community input, there is less water usage in that area now, just even with the additions, if that were to succeed, than before the project started. And I think that's very exciting.
Any other council? Larry Bender? Oh, wait. Asked to unmute.
There we go. Can you hear me now or?
Yep.
Okay. Just to let you know that the folks from Morrow Shores have reached out because it is in my district. So it's more than one person that they reach out to. I am under the thing though, if people want and would have a bigger impact if they each individually contacted the Board of Supervisors with their letters. I don't think it's appropriate for LOCAC at this time to go through or if we were to make a decision on this, we would have to start all the way back at the beginning, which I don't think would be in time for their meeting at the Board of Supervisors. March something or other, 16th or I don't know when it was, but it's soon. And I don't think we have time to go over and listen to both sides again and draft a letter and then redraft a letter. And, it would take us some time. So I think the best course of action now is for those that agree either way on this. Write our boards of supervisors, Blake, Gibson, we've got new supervisors. Let them know your opinion, voice your opinion. They do listen, but I don't think it's appropriate for LOCAC at this time to do the letter. It's too time consuming right now. We wouldn't get it done in time.
Thank you, Larry. Larry Rayo?
I agree, Larry, with you, that I have my own personal opinions on this, but for this to be rehashed at this point, it's just not, I don't think it should be a position that we should be taking. And I agree that everybody should write their own letters. And chances are that the Coastal Commission will probably shut this down anyway. So yeah, I'm not sure that this is the best time to write a letter from LOCAC.
Any other council members? Okay, Tom, what are we supposed to do now? Are we supposed to do a motion to?
If anyone does have a motion, they are welcome to make one.
Shouldn't we listen to the public?
Yeah. Okay.
Not on this issue.
Because it's under business items versus the regular agenda. What's the rules, Tom?
There's
This
no
is this is discussion. This is not an
This
item.
is only discussion, only discussion.
That's what
Lindy.
it says. The business item is only discussion. So
Yeah.
we discussed it, and I don't think there's enough support to make a motion to write a letter.
as evidenced by no one making a motion.
Correct. So we have Lindy and Eve who want to speak, and then we need to adjourn the meeting because it's time.
Can I ask a question, Madam Chairman? I'm confused. The LOCAC meets on the 4th Thursday or the last Thursday?
The fourth is always the
Or 5
fourth
Thursdays.
Thursday, the fourth.
Okay, there are 5 Thursdays in next
Yes,
month.
but then we still do 4.
Gotcha.
Okay. Lindy, really quick, because it's 9:07.
I just wanted to say, I think Patrick is bringing up a concern with projects that do take years before we actually see them after they've been presented once, they go back and get reworked. And then we don't see them for years. Some of those subject matters should be quickly addressed, I think. I guess I can't remember, I sat through that one and I can't remember exactly if all the conditions that we as approved it upon, because there were a number, there was the 2-to-1, I think there was a parking. We didn't like a couple, there were a couple things that.
Yeah,
we
and all of those are on the website.
And I can't see them right now because I can't do 2 things at once.
Okay.
So anyway, I just wanted to say that you should just remember that when things go 2 years along, we might request that we do a quick review on them, just to again say, okay, it still looks good and move on. But I understand why Patrick has asked for it, because I don't like to see these projects sit for 5 years after they were looked at by different eyes and conditions. So anyway, that's all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Eve, you're up.
Thank you. And I just wanted to see, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
And yeah, I'm sorry that I didn't understand, remember, I guess, back in 2021 about the approval. And I couldn't find the documents. I did hunt the documents also to be prepared for this. And I do think a lot of things have changed, including the letter from the Coastal Commission of April 2022, and also the revisiting of the offset requirements that the county is still hasn't presented to us about what's really going to be required. So it's sort of, well, anyway, I'll just say that we're also located in the low prohibition zone, has been pointed out, and that it's interesting that we would leap ahead of many other people who've been waiting 40 years for this community plan to be approved, which hasn't been approved yet. So I think we probably have to wait until that happens, and maybe the Coastal Commission will insist on that. I also think it's interesting that this issue that came up already about how we're not, the reason we've gotten this far is because we're not considered new homes in Morro Shores. We're considered like an addition to a home because we have the same address, but we all know that it's 10 new homes, and 10 new homes haven't been added to Los Osos in a really, really long time. So the Coastal Commission's letter said that the water supply really needed to be assured before we could move forward. And so in our informal effort to connect with neighbors in the past week or so, we've had more than 50 residents who request that LOCAC write a letter. And I understand that you can't write a letter. And I think it's interesting that Tom took such a hard stand when he wasn't on the board at that time, but that's okay. I do understand why it doesn't make sense to revisit it now. And I'm sorry that I didn't understand that before I made a fuss about this. So anyway, thank you for putting us on the agenda and chit-chatting with us about it. And I really appreciate my neighbors showing up tonight and staying up this late, because as you know, many of us in Morro Shores are not that computer literate. So a Zoom experience is a very big deal. And for some people who are on even now, it's their first time. So I hope that one of the things I thought was really good about them coming tonight was that I thought that they would be exposed to what LOCAC is really about. And I hope that they will continue to be involved now that they've been exposed to it, as you have talked about in the outreach idea of trying to bring in more people from the community. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thanks everybody for a great meeting. It is 9:11 and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.